Good day, everyone, and welcome back. I'm going through all of the Eberron races from this month's Unearthed Arcana. I'm up to the Warforged now, so I guess I'll just jump right into it. I'm not completely familiar with the Warforged, but I do like the concept. The idea of being like this pseudo-robot, pseudo-golem type thing, which is made of wood and metal, is really fun to me. I kind of like that. I do like that their personalities have quirks to them, because they're not completely human and they're kind of without purpose though, so they've started to gain sort of these quirks that wouldn't typically arise in a naturally occurring race, I want to say. So the quirks are pretty fun. They're sort of similar to how the Triton quirks work, except there's more options, and I find the options a bit more interesting. So your Warforged names are relatively standard. They're like used for their designations in their military service, so you might have things like anchor, blade, hammer, iron, pierce, slash, wood. Just really basic names that are generally more like a type of thing rather than given to a person, which, is pretty interesting. For the Warforged, this is the only other race in the Unearthed Arcana that has sub-races, so that's just something to look out for. They do something pretty similar to the Shifters, where their base race only has an improvement score of 1, and then the sub-races all have an improvement score of 2. As I said previously, I think that's generally not how sub-races work, but at the same time, I might be mistaken. Their age is typically between 2 and 30 years, and their maximum lifespan is theoretically infinite. I'm assuming that's so long as they have a chance to recharge their energy, etc., etc. Their alignment tends to be more towards lawful and generally neutral, which makes sense because they're not sort of weighed down by the sorts of morals that, humans and elves would have. That I imagine they'd take a very utilitarian or egalitarian approach to life. I don't know. Their size is medium. They're mostly between 5 feet and 6.5 feet tall, and their build is chosen by their subrace, which I think is pretty interesting. Their movement speed is 30 feet, that's pretty standard, and then they have Warforged Resilience. So they gain the following benefits. They have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, and have resistance to poison damage. That's interesting because it means that while they are technically an artificial life form and sort of like a robot, they're not immune to poison damage. They just have advantage against it, which is pretty interesting. They are, however, immune to disease, and they do not need to eat, drink, sleep, or breathe. They do not suffer exhaustion from lack of sleep, and magic cannot put them to sleep, which makes sense. However, when they take a long rest, they must spend 6 hours of it inactive in a motionless state, similar to trance and similar to how Sentry from the Hyrule Zero's campaign works, except 2 hours longer. So I appreciate that they did differentiate it from the trance quite a bit by just that extra 2 hours, and the fact that you can still see and hear as normal because it doesn't render you unconscious. Their integrated protection feature is kind of interesting, but I feel like it might need a little bit of work. So when they take a long rest, they can alter their body into different defensive modes. So you've got your Darkwood Core, which is considered unarmored, which makes your armor class 11 plus your dexterity modifier. Add proficiency bonus if you're proficient with light armor. So it's sort of unarmored, but at the same time it's sort of like, oh hey, I have light armor. It's kind of interesting. Composite plate, which is considered armor, it's considered medium armor. You need medium armor proficiency with it, and you get 13 plus your dexterity plus your proficiency bonus. Not going to lie, these are actually pretty big. Which is why I feel like they might need adjustments. Like, you don't gain benefits from wearing armor, which both does and doesn't make sense for different reasons. It makes sense for balance reasons because you're getting these massive things. So let's take the composite plating, for example. So it's 13 plus your dexterity modified to a maximum of 2. So say that you have a 14 in your dexterity, that's immediately a 15. Then plus your proficiency bonus, so you get another plus 2 on top of that. That is crazy. At level 1. Then you scale it all the way up to, say, level 20, where I believe your proficiency bonus is something like +6. I might be wrong there. You have an AC of 21, and then you can wear a shield to make it like 23, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Without armor, like that's sort of barbarian-like stats, which is crazy. And then finally, heavy plating, 16 plus your proficiency bonus, disadvantage on dexterity stealth checks. It requires heavy armor proficiency. Similar thing, it's not terribly imbalanced at low levels because it's like, okay, so you've got the same thing as plate armor, but then when you're level 20, it'd be something like an AC of 22, and then you'd be able to get your shield on top of that, so it'd be 24, which, similar to the composite plating, is sort of semi-ridiculous. It's like stacking a Shield of Faith on top of the Kensai's AC bonus option, which I have done before, and you get something ridiculous like an AC of 23 or 24 or something ridiculous like that. So they might need to balance that, because that is a bit iffy. As to why it doesn't make sense as to not gaining bonuses of wearing armor, well, it's like, okay, so say that I am wearing a chainmail shirt. Say that I put another chainmail shirt on top of that. I am technically getting more protection from that, but according to how the game statistics works for balance purposes, they don't gain that. So, it's a very fine line between balance and how reality actually is. It'd also be very uncomfortable to move with two chainmail shirts on, so that's something to think about. For languages, they can read, write, and speak Common. Again, another race with only one language. I think that's pretty nice. And then for sub-races, they get to choose from Envoy, Juggernaut, or Skirmisher. So the Envoy is pretty interesting. I love a lot of their features, like they get to increase 2 different ability scores of their choice by 1. It's very similar to how the Kalashtar are in that sense, but I do appreciate that. Their specialized design, they gain 1 skill proficiency of their choice, 1 tool proficiency of their choice, and fluency in 1 language of their choice, which is really nice. I like the flavor behind that and the idea of this is meant to be more like a servitor. It's like an envoy. It's meant for diplomatic purposes or for trades or for the purposes of a trade like blacksmithing, so it makes sense to have that. And then they have their integrated tool. For integrated tool, they choose 1 tool that they're proficient with, so in this case, if you're only proficient with the 1 tool, it'd be like the tool from your specialized design. And I'm glad that they factored that in. This tool is integrated into your body, and you double your proficiency bonus for any ability checks that you make with it. You must have hands free to use this integrated tool. I absolutely love that. That is amazing. It's like the idea of, again, a robot built for blacksmithing. You'd expect it to have a hammer inbuilt into its system somehow, so I really like that. Or something that's built for like carpentry, you'd expect it to have like saws and chisels built into its system. And I just really like the flavor behind that. It's like, I am a living multi-tool. It's really fun, and I like that. The Juggernaut, they increase their strength by 2. That's, to be expected from something that's called a Juggernaut. They have an Iron Fist, which makes them deal 1d4 plus their strength modifier bludgeoning damage instead of normal damage for unarmed strikes, so it's like, hey, I'm punching you hard, yeah, it's alright, it's nothing terribly fancy, so, take that as you will. And powerful build, you count as 1 size larger when determining your carry capacity, and weight you can push, drag, or lift. Again, okay, sure, whatever. I'm not a huge fan of it. You've seen it in a few races before, it's alright, it makes sense, I just want something, I don't know, a bit more interesting, I guess. But that's just because I like things that are interesting. And then finally, Skirmisher, you increase your dexterity score by 2. Makes sense, it's sort of contrasting the Juggernaut by being a more dexterous type fighter on the front lines. Their walking speed is increased by 5 as well, so they have that 35 base movement speed, which is, again, really nice. I really love that. And then they have Light Step. Light Step, when traveling alone for an extended period of time, 1 hour or more, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. So it's sort of similar to, like, the Ranger's Natural Explorer feature, except it's just, you get the stealth bonus, and it's while you're traveling alone. So that's really all there is to the Warforged, as it is right now. I hope that they look through it and sort of change some things. I'm not a fan of the powerful builds for the Juggernaut, but I understand why it's there. I just feel like they could have done something a bit more unique. Like, the integrated tool for the Envoy was pretty fun. So I'd like to see sort of... I guess it'd be too much to ask for, like, an integrated simple weapon, but something that's just a bit more interesting than, like, oh, hey! I can lift things! Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, then let me know. If you disagree with any of my points, let me know. If I missed anything, then also let me know. Tell me how I can improve if you want to. And cheers. I might see you next time. Bye.